Hello everybody, what's up? My name is Maddie and this is Maddie's mic. I don't have a real microphone, so this is a makeup brush, but we'll just use our imagination and we'll pretend. I hope you are all doing well. Today, I just decided that I would take you through every single book that I am supposed to read this semester as a third year English major. So this semester I decided that I would hate myself and only sign up for English courses. So I'm taking 6 classes, which at my university is 18 credit hours. I don't know how it works for you, but that's 6 English classes. And naturally, there are readings for all of them. So I'm gonna attempt to split the video up like by the different classes and then just go through what I'm going to be reading. If I've already read it, I'll give my thoughts. If I haven't read it yet, obviously I can't. Let's get into it. Okay, so the first class that I'm going to go through, if you see me like looking away from the camera, I am consulting the reading lists for my classes. But the first class that I'm going to be talking about is called Digital Narratives for Young People. And so I have some physical copies, but because it's digital narratives, a lot of the readings are like online or like another format, like a physical copy. And so the first book that I'm going to talk about will be a common theme. At least half of my classes are having me read this book this semester. So it's Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, and the copy that I got also has Through the Looking Glass in it, because for another one of my classes we had to read both, but I'm sure everyone is familiar with the story. Good, quirky, fun, that's all I have to say. The next book is Twilight. I have never read the books. I have seen the movies, and I definitely have my opinions about them. But I'm interested to see how the movie will compare to the book. I think this will be a fun one to talk about in class. Next is Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, but the cool thing about this one is that it's a graphic novel. Different format, obviously. It lends itself to the theme of the class, you know, being digital narratives and alternative narratives. This is Fangirl. I hadn't heard about this one before taking this class, but I think it'll be interesting. So it's about a girl named Kathy who, as I'm sure you can assume by the title, is a fangirl. And basically she's really into, you know, her fandom, and one of her best friends was also in it, but as they grow up, you know, she kind of doesn't want to let go of it, whereas her friend is ready to move on. So they go to college, she's still really obsessed with it, and then it's basically about her trying to navigate, you know, being on her own for the first time. So the next book is, I believe, the first nonfiction that I've talked about, and this one is called By Any Media Necessary, The New Youth Activism, and it has multiple authors. I will not read all of their names right now, but it's basically just like debunking myths about like society's perception of the youth of America today. I think that this will be really interesting. It's fun to like mix in a nonfiction. So those are all of the physical books that I have. We also read A Study in Scarlet, which I like. That's a mystery, Sherlock Holmes. I'm sure you've never heard of him. We also read A Scandal in Bohemia. I say we read that one. I didn't read that one. Don't tell my professor. So I cannot offer my thoughts on that one. And this last week we watched The Matrix. Now, I'd seen parts of the movie before, but I'd never watched it all the way through, like in one sitting. Definitely interesting. It was a little weird. CGI has come a long way. It does really make you think though. if I think about it too much, it'll give me an existential crisis. But I do recommend watching the movie. If you're not a sci-fi fan, you probably will not like it. But it's a good watch. Later on in the semester, we will be reading The Hunger Games. I'm sure a lot of you have read that, as I did in middle school. I ate it up. I wanted to be Katniss Everdeen. So I'm looking forward to reading that again and, you know, reliving the excitement of it. And then the last thing that we're going to read is Romeo and Juliet, which I'm pretty sure I had to read that in high school, but it's been a while, so I'll read it again. Why not? Well, I'll read it because I have to, but it could be interesting. Okay, so the next class that I'm going to talk about is my British Children's Literature class. I've taken a children's lit class before, but not specifically, you know, the British. We honestly don't have that many readings for this class. A lot of it is like class discussion and like different articles and things like that. You'll never guess what I also had to read in this class, though, once again. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, yes. And then we also read Through the Looking Glass, and that one I hadn't read before, so that was good. I have to say I think I like the original better. Now that could be the nostalgia of watching the movie. I'd read it before, but I don't know, I kind of like that it's more all over the place than Through the Looking Glass is. Through the Looking Glass is a lot more structured than the first one, but that's because it's kind of playing off the theme of chess and like strategy. But one thing that I do want to recommend is we had to watch a TED Talk for this class called The Danger of a Single Story, and I thought that it was really, really good. Just go to YouTube, type it in. It has a lot of good information in there. I do not want to butcher the speaker's name, but basically what she's talking about is she grew up in Africa, and a lot of the stories that she read growing up were about white children from mainly like Eurocentric, you know, points of view, stuff like that. And that, you know, as the title of the talk implies, The Danger of a Single Story, she just really talks about the importance of having different perspectives, having kids read books that are actually representative of them, that they can see themselves in, and can't sing its praises enough. If you have not seen it, go watch it. It's only like 20 minutes long too, or actually it might be shorter than that. Okay, so moving on from that, we're going to talk about the books that I'm going to read for my Victorian Literature class. You'll never guess who's back. I know. You know, I mean, I'm not going to complain. I read it one time and it counted for 3 classes, so we have that. And then the first play that I've had to read this semester, and I'm pretty sure it's the only play, but it's Bernard Shaw's Mrs. Warren's Profession. And the play centers around Mrs. Warren, as you could guess, and basically she, you know, fell on hard times when she was young, and in order to earn a living for herself, she becomes a prostitute, and later on we're introduced to her daughter, and they haven't really interacted very much in their lifetime. Her mom basically just like pays for her to like get tutoring, pays for her to have a place to live, but there wasn't really much like direct interaction with them. And so, you know, there's obviously a bit of tension, you know, when she finds out that the way that Vivi, the daughter, the way that she has been able to live the life that she has led is because her mom has been involved with sex work for the majority of her life. And obviously there's still a stigma around it now, but in the 1800s, it was definitely more of a thing. This play got banned, like, widely. A lot of times it wasn't allowed to be performed. I really enjoyed it. I think it, like, points out a lot of problems that still exist today. It's a really interesting, also, like, commentary on, like, mother-daughter relationships. But also as far as Victorian literature goes, I found this pretty readable. It's not, you know, it's not like Jane Eyre or something like that. So I recommend this if you're looking for something to read from that time period. The next book, I haven't finished it yet, but I'm most of the way through it, is Withering Heights by Emily Bronte. It's a classic. We've all heard of it. I've enjoyed it so far, but I can't say it's my favorite. One thing I would love to ask authors from like 200 years ago, why is it that anytime someone experiences a strong emotion, they like pass out, collapse, like get sick? Like, and people just accepted that as like, oh, that's what happens. Because, I mean, minor spoiler, but the character Linton in this book, he gets all upset, and then it literally describes him like collapsing to the floor and coughing up blood. No one even touched him. But anyways, so Mr. Lockwood, the main character at the beginning of the story, arrives at Withering Heights, and the majority of the story is actually Nellie Dean, who used to work at Withering Heights, telling him the story of its inhabitants and their children. So it's a frame story. It kind of reminded me of Frankenstein in a way, that's told, but there are more breaks where we come back to the present than in Frankenstein. So I still have a little bit left, but we'll see how it goes. And then the next book that I have for this class is The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. This cover is terrifying. I don't like looking at it. I'd heard about this before. I'd never gotten the chance to, oh, the back is even scarier. But I think that one will be interesting. I'll talk about it later, but I'm taking a horror fiction class. So I think it'll be interesting to compare that to like some of the more modern stories that we're reading. And then the last book that I have for this class is The Island of Dr. Moreau, I believe is how you pronounce it. This story is centered around the main character, Prendick, and so he's basically the lone survivor of a shipwreck, and he has to find a way to survive on this new island that's full of, you know, beasts and all crazy stuff like that. The last two books for this class I don't have physically, but it's The History of Mary Prince and The Haunted Hotel. So now I'm going to be talking about my adolescent literature class. As you can tell by the stack, this is one of the more reading heavy classes I have, but this one is fully online, so basically just at the end of every week you have to have read the book, and then we take a quiz and do a couple like writing responses. Don't know where to start. So this one was recently turned into a movie. I haven't seen the movie yet, but now that I read the book, I think that I would like to. It's Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret by Judy Blume, and this is about a middle school girl who moves. She's starting a new school, and her father is Jewish and her mother is Christian, I believe, or their families are anyways. So a big theme is religion and her kind of going back and forth. Her grandmother really wants her to be involved in the Jewish church, but her parents are like, you know, it's up to you, like we're not going to force you into anything. But it also navigates a lot about puberty, a lot about like crushes, first kisses, stuff like that. So it really is, you know, coming of age, growing up. But I think it's done really well. I think Judy Blume does a really good job of, you know, having the voice of the character be realistic for something that a middle schooler would say. Next up is a little bit of nonfiction, and it's Inventing Ourselves, The Secrets of the Teenage Brain. And we didn't read the entire book, we just read a couple sections, but I did think it was interesting. If I have any extra time, I might try to finish the rest of the book, but you know, there's like science involved as well. So it describes, you know, like the brain chemistry, like what makes a teenager a teenager. It explores why a lot of times mental illness will kind of rear its head in teenage years and issues like that. Okay, so the next book is, sorry about the glare, it's Children of Blood and Bone. I saw this in Barnes & Noble recently. This book involves some more like fantasy elements, and it's basically about, I know I'm not pronouncing this correctly, I think it's Zeely is the main character, and she's basically trying to save her people. There was a place, it was full of magic, and it was taken away, and so she helps the princess, and they have to try to overthrow the crown prince who is oppressing them and taking away their magic. So I think that one will be a good read. So the next book that I'm going to talk about for this class is American Born Chinese, and this one is a graphic novel as well, and it basically tells the story of a young Chinese American boy, and he really wants to fit in, but he struggles with, finding acceptance, fitting in, finding his place, issues like that. And then we have Poet X, which, as we can see, has won multiple awards, and this is actually the book that I have to read for this week. And so this one, the main character is a Afro-Latina poet, and it's really just about her, expressing all of her feelings, her getting all of her, aspirations, her frustrations into the page of her journal, and she ends up becoming involved in her school's slam poetry club, and that, helps her. So next we have Concrete Rose, written by Angie Thomas, who wrote The Hate U Give. I haven't read that one, but it is on my very, very long TBR. So this book's main character is Maverick, and he's 17, and he knows that family is really important to him. His dad was a former gang leader, so basically his only option is to continue what his dad did, and he's going about his life doing that, making money, trying to support his family, and then he finds out that he is a father, and so that throws the wrench in the works, and then I'm assuming the rest of the story is just him trying to come to terms with that and deal with it. So the next book is Between Shades of Grey, and I remember one of my friends actually reading this in middle school and saying that it was really sad and made her cry, so maybe I'll be crying when it's time to do this homework assignment. But this is about Lena, and her family is arrested by the Soviet secret police, and they are separated, and she tries to secretly pass along clues through drawings, but she doesn't know if they're reaching her family or not. And so it's kind of the mystery of, will they survive? Will they be reunited? So I think that one will be a tough read, but really interesting. The next book that I'm going to talk about is Gabby, A Girl in Pieces. This one I really liked. It's about a Mexican-American girl in high school, and she deals a lot with insecurity about her body. She's overweight, and she really feels like that's what's defining her. It's what is holding her back in a lot of ways. And once again, it's kind of like a coming of age story. She deals with first relationships, issues with friends, issues with family. This one is an epistolary novel, and had to throw out the big English major word, but basically it just means that it's told through either diary entries or letters, in this case being diary entries, which can give more insight into the character and the way that their mind works. It's it's coming directly from them instead of an outside narrator. I really enjoyed this one, and I would recommend it. So this book is called A Step from Heaven, and it's kind of another story that has similar themes to other books that I've talked about, where it's someone that feels displaced from their culture. And so it's about a young girl, and she and her family move from Korea to the United States, like in search of the American dream, and they think that it's just going to be heaven once they get here, but obviously she finds out that that is not true, and so the book is kind of about her grappling with that. Okay, so this book is called Hey Kiddo. It is another graphic novel. The illustrations are really beautiful. This is a true story, and the little blurb on the cover sums it up pretty well. It's how I lost my mother, found my father, and dealt with family addiction. So a lot of these stories, even though they are adolescent literature, deal with, I'd say, pretty adult, serious themes, but I think it's really important for younger readers to be exposed to those, and I've enjoyed seeing how authors navigate that, so I think I'll find this one really interesting. Now, the last 2 books for this class I have read, and they are my 2 favorites, so I saved them. This one is Trevor Noah's memoir, Born a Crime, and it's about him growing up in South Africa, and it deals a lot about race. He is lighter skinned than the majority of his family, and this was dangerous for him. His father is white and his mother is black, and being biracial made life difficult for them. It was made illegal in South Africa for people of different races to have children, or, you know, have sexual relationships with each other. And so hence the title Born a Crime. His birth was literally illegal. And so, you know, when he and his mother would be out in public, they'd have to bring along someone else, a family friend that that looked more like him, so that, and his mother would have to pretend to be their maid or someone that worked for them, so that they wouldn't, you know, be accosted on the street just for living their lives. And being written by a comedian, it is really funny. I've read a couple celebrity memoirs, and I'd have to say that this one is one of my favorites. He does a really good job of, you know, adding comedic elements, but he's talking about, you know, serious things, or he's talking about, you know, his life experiences, the experience of his family, about people from his country. I just think he does it really well. I learned a lot. I didn't know very much about, I almost said South Korea. I didn't know much about South Africa before reading this, and so it was interesting to get to learn more about him, but also learn about more of South Africa's history. The last book that I'm going to talk about for this class was my favorite, and it is Firekeeper's Daughter. So this one is about an 18-year-old Native American girl, and she, you know, kind of feels pulled between 2 different aspects of her identity. She lives in a small town, and then which is close to the reservation of the tribe that she is a part of. She is not an official member of the tribe, and a big part of this is because she doesn't have a connection to her father, and so his name is not on the birth certificate because her mother was pregnant with her when she was a teenager, and so it was, you know, kind of hush-hush, it was hidden. And so it's mainly about her discovering her identity, but then it was also like a really interesting plot because they included like kind of like mystery adventure in it. I don't want to spoil too much, but a new student comes to the school and he is not who he says he is. In the town there have been drug-related deaths, and so she plays a part in helping to figure out who's behind that. And this book is one of the longer ones. I think it's about 450 pages, but I mean, I blew through it in a day. I really enjoyed it, and out of all the books I've talked about so far, I think I would recommend this one most highly. Okay, so the class that I'm going to be talking about now is my horror fiction class, and I'm honestly a scaredy cat. I don't really watch horror movies or read, you know, horror literature, but I thought that this would be an interesting way to be introduced to it and, you know, learn about the genre in the process. This class, we majority of the time read short stories. I have a feeling this video is going to be really long already, so I'm not going to bore you with the details of all the short stories that we read, but we are going to be reading 3 novels this semester, and the first one is I Am Legend. We have the famous Mr. Will Smith on the cover because he was in the movie adaptation of this. Maybe he'll slap someone, I don't know. Then the next book is The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson, and this one has been turned into a Netflix series. I think I'm gonna read the book before I try and watch that. I'm someone that likes to read something before watching it, so looking forward to that. And then the last book is Rosemary's Baby. This one I think might be the creepiest, at least from what I've been told. Maybe I should read it during the day instead of right before I go to bed, but even though they might keep me up at night, I am nevertheless looking forward to reading these. And then the last class that I'm taking, it's technically an English class, but it's technical communication, so we don't actually have any books for that class. So those are all of the books that I have read or will read this semester for my classes. Let me know if you want me to do a video at the end of the semester, like maybe ranking them or talking about my favorites once I've actually finished them all. Sorry, I know I talked a lot, but I hope you enjoy the video anyways, and that you have a good day, a good night, whatever time it is that you're watching this video. Please like and subscribe if you would care to. Shout out to all 9 of you fabulous subscribers. You are the real ones. We're starting off strong. If more than 9 people see this, I will consider it a success. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.